we have my friend, Mr. Mel Abraham. This was a really great chat, all on money and wealth. We're going to be diving in.
Do you want blissful balance in your personal and professional life? Great. What's up, guys? My name is Kerry Jack, and I want to help you happy hustle a life you love, one full of passion, purpose, and positive impact. I'm a lifestyle entrepreneur, a professional model / actor, a digital marketing specialist, a podcast host, author, a biohacker, an eco-warrior, a martial artist, a hippie cowboy, and a humanitarian. My goal is to educate, inspire, and entertain you to live a life of passion, purpose, and positive impact. It is time to happy hustle your dream reality. Yee-yee.
All right, Mr. Mel Abraham, welcome to the Happy Hustle Podcast, my man. I am super excited to rock the mic with you.
Kerry, it's so good to be here, man. Cool.
Yeah, man, this is going to be a fun one. I mean, what's really cool about this one, I just got to say it. So Mel and I were at Rory's event in Nashville, both architecting our book launches.
Yep.
And it's so cool to see this come to fruition finally. And like your launch is just around the corner. This book is destined to change lives. And I got a front row seat to watch it be architected. So I'm really excited to talk about it, man.
You're saying the launch is around the corner. I feel it's on top of my head.
I know, right? Book launches are no joke, but
Yeah.
man, you're doing a great job. And the book, I've been diving into it, and it is very powerful. And I'm really excited to talk about it. I mean, you are a CPA by trade, and you have cut your teeth being a serial entrepreneur, looking at the books for some of the most prominent entrepreneurs in the game and really helping them architect their wealth picture. And you're also a podcaster. You have the Affluent Entrepreneur Show. You're a best-selling author, and you're a black belt in ninjutsu, right? You're a cancer survivor. You are a happy hustler, brother. You're a father and a husband and a dog dad, right? We got a lot in common, man. Before we get into all this really good stuff about building your money machine and how all the happy hustlers can do just that, I'm curious, what is something interesting about yourself, Mel, that not too many people know?
God, I think probably I don't know if it's interesting, but it's probably a fact that, from the outside, and this is probably similar to a lot of people, is I actually has struggled over the years with, I don't know why I'm saying this, but with the idea of good enough.
Mm.
And why I think it's important is because there is a tendency potentially to try and use money as the vehicle to feel good enough.
Mm.
And being that I'm do so much work in the money space, I start to see it. And I saw, and just in reflection of my own journey, once I allowed the money to get out, just put it on the side and find my lane and find that not that it ever goes away completely, but it certainly doesn't define me, sideline me, or distract me at the levels as it once did. You're going to go, we're going to put a book out, we're going to do this, and you kind of go, and I got the cool thing is that you kind of go, is anyone going to buy it? Well, someone already pinged me and said pre-order it. I said, oh, we don't have goose eggs for sale, But I mean,
I've just bought one too, for the record. So you're not getting skunked, buddy.
There you go. I think, it's when you see people that maybe are doing well, we tend to see their destination and not the journey. And my journey's been anything but straight line. It certainly wasn't a silver spoon. It certainly wasn't from necessarily poverty, but I struggle. I guess I'm just a regular dude that struggles with the same things. And I happen to be able to do enough of the stuff right to be successful and be willing to be vulnerable in the process.
Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, that vulnerability in the process is such an admirable quality. And I don't think enough people are doing that. It's people, they put on a mask and they just talk about the end destination, but the journey is where you ultimately create a lot of the joy. And I know your journey comes from humble roots, man, and it really is inspiring. Like, I mean, you have literally built the money machine for yourself. Your
Yeah.
kids are living proof of how you can do it with other people. You work with some of the biggest clients in the world. I mean, biggest personal brands in the world, um, to help them do it. And it's something I really want to unpack. You know, the subtitle for your book is "How to Get Your Money to Work Harder for You Than You Did for It," which I think is so genius because, you know, like people work hard for their money, but
Oh
then what
yeah.
they do is they just oftentimes let it sit in a savings account that is accruing at what 0.05%, and like basically getting washed away by inflation. Just let's unpack that subtitle first and foremost. You know,
Yeah.
like what do you mean by, you know, actually having it work for you?
So for me, the idea, so we're raised in a world where, you know, we still have the industrial age thinking.
Mm,
Go get a good education, go get a job, work there for decades, and then go off into the sunset and enjoy what's left. I I think it's antiquated. I know it's broken. Um, but first off, the idea of getting a job or not getting a job, the book works for, and the process works for everyone. But the point is that we get drilled into us this idea of earn. You got to go make money. Got to go make money. And the thought process, whether it was intentional or not, we come away from it and say, "Oh, if I make money, then I will be free. If I make
mm,
money, I will be in control. If I make money, everything will be well in the world." And nothing could be further from the truth, whether you're an entrepreneur or in a job.
yeah.
And the challenge is that there's two machines that we need to build in our life. We only talk about one. We talk about the earnings machine. But the
Mm,
earnings machine was never there to give you freedom. It was never there to give you control. It was never there for your legacy. It was never there for any of that. It was there for one thing, well, maybe two things: to create a solution to people that need it and to generate cash flow from that solution. That's it. Then there's this second machine that no one wants to talk about because we demonize money and we shouldn't talk about money and all of that stuff, and it's impolite and all that, is the money machine.
mm,
The money machine is the machine where our freedom lies, where our
mm,
control lies, and the ability to transition from a life where we have to do things to a life where we get to do things, to create
mm,
a life that's by choice. And what I
yeah.
mean by having the money work harder for you than you did for it is to separate the income generation from the effort that you put out there.
Mm,
Because right now, we get, in many cases, we're always swapping hours for dollars, whether as an employee,
yep.
whether as a solopreneur, a contractor, a coach, a mentor. And until we or eliminate those lines, the connections from our efforts to our wealth, we're always beholden to the treadmill. And
True.
that was me. Look, I came from that. I'm an accountant.
Yeah.
There's no worse profession other than attorneys, but they make money because they double bill. Sorry if there's attorneys out there.
Right.
Um, but we're charging by 6/10 of an hour and all that
Yeah.
stuff. I mean, there's no better way to commoditize and cheapen what you do than to just put it into a math equation of hours and
Mm,
dollars. And we do it as employees, punching the time clock
yeah.
and those kinds of things also. What we need to do is shift our conversations from the cost, the price, and the hours to the value. And then also be given the tools to take whatever it is that we're creating, the cash flow, to build the money machine. Because at a point where the money machine grows large enough, it will actually generate more money for you than your efforts ever will.
Mm,
And that's what I mean by that,
yeah.
is that I and we can get into my story, but I literally in 2019 shut down my businesses, stopped everything. But the income didn't stop because I had a machine that was producing, I had a machine that was supporting us. And that's what I want for everyone. Because imagine for a moment that you get a chance to sit back and go, I have this machine, and I can just turn on the switch, and it's going to allow me. I don't have to worry about how long do I live. I don't, it's going to allow you to live.
Yeah, it's the dream.
Now, I'm not saying it may not be easy, and it takes diligence and discipline and dedication, but it doesn't have to be complicated. It's simple.
Yeah.
If we just follow processes and principles.
Yeah. And I mean, processes and principles is really what this book is made up of. And I really do
Yeah.
want to, dive into it. I mean, you talk about part one, understanding the journey, then part two, defining the journey, part three, creating the journey, and then part four, living the journey. And, I want to start with just understanding the journey because, I mean, there's like money's a game, right? There's rules to the game. And I don't think people understand the journey of financial liberation. And I know that's your chapter one is like, okay, what is the game and what are the rules, Mel? And how do we play it?
Yeah. So here's the interesting thing. The first part of this, which I think is a mistake that a lot of folks will make, is we tend to not define what we want based upon the destination we're going to. So one of the first things that we do with any of my elite clients or master's clients or any of the stuff that we do, and in fact in the book, is to say, let's define where we want to go.
Yeah.
Let's figure out what the life is that you want. Okay. Not asking how we do it. We're not asking, because when we start to sit back and go, look, I'm in debt, but I want to have $5 million. It seems like a chasm you can't get across. And so we don't even go there. And so we're not filtering it through the lens of how. We're filtering it through the lens of why. And allowing us to dream big. Then we can sit back and say, well, that's a goal 20 years from now, 30 years from now, 40 years, whatever it is. Now we have a place to go. Now we look at where we are today. Are we in debt? Are we not in debt? We know the gap. So we now know the game we're playing. So the key is that we allow the vision, we call it an affluence vision. We allow the affluence vision to define the destination, and everyone's different. Okay. You will like a tent in Montana.
Right.
Me, roughing it for me is the Holiday Inn,
Love it.
But it has to be your life. It has to be your definition of success. It has to be the journey that you're on. And if you're with a significant other, a spouse, a partner, it needs to be yours together. My wife and I, we define our life together, and we're going on that journey together. And so now we can sit back and say, okay, what does it take to get there? Now, I mentioned the word affluence. And I think that what we need to realize is that as much as the book is about money and my work is about money, it isn't money detached from life. When I speak, a lot of people will hear affluence and they'll interpret it as opulence. Opulence is stuff. Opulence is stuff that collects dust, depreciates, maybe goes up, whatever. It doesn't mean anything. It's materialistic junk, if you will, when it's all said and done. Affluence is far bigger. Affluence has 4 aspects to living an affluent life. And the first aspect of it is that it's a meaningful life. What really means something to you? What really gives you joy? What is the thing that sparks you in the morning and you're going, the sun is coming up, I'm coming up, and I'm ready to take on the day? Because if it's not getting you excited, then it's not meaningful from the inside out. The second aspect of a affluent life is that it's impactful. I believe that we've borrowed this world from the people who come after us, and we need to pay it back to them with interest.
Mm,
And the way we do that is we have a positive impact on the souls that we connect with.
mm,
And so the question is, how am I being impactful? How am I, by mere existence, how I live my life, how am I leaving people better for it? The third aspect of affluence is the only thing that has to do with money, is that it's a fruitful life,
mm,
because that allows you a life of choice. And the fourth is that it's a peaceful life.
mm.
And I think that when we know that we're living a meaningful, impactful, fruitful, and peaceful life, that's the definition of affluence, at least in our book and in my book.
Yeah.
And so whatever machine you're building, whatever wealth you're trying to create, if we are simply keeping track of a bank account, you are keeping track of a statistic that has no meaning, has no power, but you are giving it the power, versus turning around and saying, how is the richness in my life versus the wealth in my bank accounts? I got a lot of people that I know that are extremely wealthy. They got big, big bank accounts, but they're living a bankrupt life.
Mm. Yeah. I know a bunch of them too, and it's sad, isn't it? I mean, I really appreciate
Yeah.
the quote you put in your book by Benjamin Franklin, and you said, "Wealth is not his that has it, but his that enjoys it." I was like, "Ooh, now
Yeah.
that ain't that the truth?" Like
Ain't that the truth?
that
Yeah.
is like, because you see these people, especially what gets me is like the billionaires who kill themselves. Like what an
Yeah.
example of money not buying happiness. And it's sad. I'm not, saying it's not, but it's very evident that like there's more to life. And I really like how you listed out the affluence definition: meaningful, fruitful, impactful, and ultimately peaceful. I think peaceful is such a great point that goes completely overlooked, really, when it comes to entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Like, how many entrepreneurs that you and I know that are just like running around like chickens with their head cut off,
They're
putting fires
frantic.
out? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The majority, probably. Right. I
Yeah.
mean,
I can't tell you that. I mean, now I'm at a different stage in life, I guess, too,
yeah.
but um, lifestyle is a huge variable in my equations.
Oh yeah. Yeah, same here, man. I talk about the three freedoms. So creative, time, and financial freedom. And really those three freedoms are what success actually means to me. And being able, if I
Yeah.
don't want to work and I want to go take my son to the park, my little 5-month old now, I can do that. Like I really have time freedom at a whole nother level, creative freedom to put out content, and the financial freedom, being debt free and being able to, fund the experiences. It's like, it's something I wish for everyone, and for the happy hustlers out there, especially, those who tune in, like this book can help you get there. And, understanding that journey. And I really think, yeah, the affluence, destination that you painted is really powerful. Let's talk about now getting clear on the actual control of the journey itself, right? You talk about like gauging your money situation, you talk about the affluence cash flow matrix, the financial freedom journey. I mean, there's a lot to unpack here. Maybe pick what you think is most impactful from part two, defining the journey that really would be beneficial.
I think there's just a couple things to think about, is that because we think that it's a long ways away, and we think that it's a tough ride to get to financial freedom. There's four gateways you have to pass through. Now, and you'll hear people talk about, hey, well, what's your freedom number? I want 5 million, I want 10 million. Now, first things first, most of them are coming up with an arbitrary number because it sounds
Yeah.
good. I don't want to do that. I want to create that vision, put a price tag on it, and I know what I'm going to. Now, that doesn't mean that it doesn't change. Mine's changed all the
Yeah.
time. Life changes, things change, so we adjust it. But if someone's going to take a trip, we actually have to set a destination to start on the journey, and we might take a detour. Okay, So So what we need to understand is that there's 4 gateways to get to that financial freedom threshold. But we're only looking at the freedom number, which seems so far off. When we understand the gateways, then you start to find milestones that allow you to know whether you're on the path.
Mm.
And the first gateway is financial stability.
Mm.
And the financial stability is when you've built enough of a machine that the cash flow from the machine allows you to survive. It allows you to pay your necessities. So the roof over your head, the food in your gut, your clothes, your medical, your transportation. All right. It's not the fun stuff. It's not the Netflix, the mani-pedis, the technology, the luxury trips and the luxury vehicles and the toys. Okay. But at that point, you can sit back and say, I'm stable. I know I can survive.
Yeah.
It's not the life we want, but I know that I can survive. So you have to pass through that gateway. Everyone passes through these 4 gateways. They just do it at different paces and different rates. The second gateway is financial security. And financial security is when we can add in the toys. Now we actually can cover 100% of our current expenses. So I can pay for my Netflix, my mani-pedis, the technology, and the toys. So now I'm at a financial security level because now I can sit back and say, hey, I can keep our current lifestyle just the way it is.
Mm.
But in all likelihood, many people's current lifestyle isn't the desired lifestyle. So there's still a gap.
Yep.
Okay. But if we're doing it right, we're making money. And I'll put some numbers to this to make it make sense for everyone. But we're making income, hopefully above our expenses, so we have a surplus.
Yep.
That's the next gateway, financial independence.
Mm.
That we have a sizable enough machine that the cash flow from the machine is replacing 100% of our income.
Mm.
So let's throw some things out. $2,000 a month, maybe that's your survival. Okay, that's your roof over your head, this and that. So now it tells me a few things. One, you don't live in California,
Right.
Because you can't do it for $2,000 a month.
Yeah.
Okay, but so that's your survival. That is your stability number. So I need a machine that generates $2,000 a month. Now I'm stable, but I'm spending, call it $4,000 a month. Well, that's my security number. So I need to build a machine to get to $4,000 a month. But I'm making $7,000 a month. You go, oh, that's the independence number. I need to generate that. Okay. But then what's financial freedom?
Mm.
Financial freedom is the number you need to pay for the lifestyle you desire.
Mm.
Now you have a machine that allows you to live your dreams fully, the missions, the movements, the things that you want to do. But we all have to pass through the 4 gateways.
Mm.
And that's the journey.
Yeah.
Now, the biggest thing, and I hear this in my speaking a lot, that drives this, is there is an element called the wealth flat line. And wealth flatline, your journey to wealth is kind of a hockey stick. And it's flat for a period of time, anywhere from 5 to 10
Yep.
years. And what ends up happening is, especially in today's world, we lose patience. We don't keep in it because we want to hit it out of the park every time. I want to buy Bitcoin when it's 5,000 and watch it go to 60.
Yeah. Right.
All right. Good luck. If we keep swinging for the fences, we probably strike out more times than
True.
not. Okay. Everyone, again, just like the gateways, has to pass through the wealth flatline. The challenge is that, and when you're in that wealth flatline, is when you need the most discipline, because you'll be putting money away into your 401k, into your IRA, into your brokerage accounts, into investments for a year, 2 years, 5 years, 6 years. You go, I listened to that guy, Mel Abraham, and he told me to do this. I'm only up $67. He's an idiot,
Yeah.
you know, and they stop.
Yeah.
The problem is that they're just on the cusp of what I call the acceleration zone. But they don't get there because the only thing that will eat up the wealth flatline is time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the one thing that you cannot go back on. You can earn more, you can make more, you can invest more, but I can't take back time. So when people ask me, what is now a good time to invest? I say, did you invest yesterday? No, then now's a good time. Did you invest a month ago? No, then now's a good time.
Yeah.
It's not what's going on in the market that matters. It's the fact that you're in the market that matters, because wealth creation is a behavior and it's not a financial thing.
Yep.
And as much as, and this may be confronting for some, as much as you believe that you have money issues, no one has money issues, in my opinion. You know, because what you have is money symptoms. They're symptoms of choices, decisions, and behaviors of the past. And as you can, and that can be confronting, but it can also be empowering, because if we just change the habits, change the choices, change the decisions, we get a different result.
Yep.
We're fully in control. Now, you might look at it and go, oh, you haven't seen my checking account. You haven't seen my life. I get it. There are some circumstances there, but there are things we can control. And when we take control of that and don't just float on the sea of victimhood, and I know this is, I'm being straight, but then we have the ability to do it. Look, I wiped out 1/3 of everything I owned in a Ponzi scheme, not on purpose. It sounded like I did it on purpose the way I said that. But between me and two buddies, we lost $4.5 million.
Jeez Louise.
And so things happen. The question is, what are we going to do about it? I had to make different choices. I had to make different things, rebuilt it.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No, you're good. I mean, I really appreciate the financial stability, financial security, financial independence, and then financial freedom. That progression it's so important to have those steps to know you're on the path, as you said. I mean, it's oftentimes this lofty goal, like you said, oh, I want to have $5 million in the bank, but this chasm seems so great to cross that we need to have these benchmarks along the journey. And I really appreciate the actual visual. Your book is littered with amazing graphics, and that's one that really stuck out, was that wealth, that flat line for, wealth. It's like, it takes time and you got to be in the market, like, right?
Watch what happens. Now, much of your group isn't this young, but I do regular lives. So I have a kid on. He just turned 18. Now he decided he followed me at 16 and a half years old.
Wow.
So he's not my son. My son had no choice. I was raising him. He got brainwashed and indoctrinated. So he had no choice. But this kid, 16 and a half years old. Okay. He goes in, his mom says, I want to buy the program. So he comes on the live yesterday, and I had told him previously, he says, I'm making some money. What do I do? I said, put it in a Roth IRA, and we'll get it invested. So he gets on the line yesterday, and he says to me, he tells me that he just turned 18. Okay. He just turned 18 years old, and he says, I'm trying to figure out where I should invest it. I put the money, I funded the Roth IRA. I said, great. All right. I said, how much did you fund? I'm thinking he's going to tell me $2,000, whatever, a couple grand. He says, I fully funded 2023's donation, contribution, and 2024's. I go, hold on a second. You funded $13,500 into a Roth IRA at 18 years old.
Wow.
And he said, yeah. I go, holy moly, watch what happens. At 20 years old, every dollar you put into the S&P 500, based on averages over time, will turn into almost $90 by the time you're 65. He put almost $14,000 in at 18, just to make the math easy. Call it 100 times. He doesn't do anything until 65. That turns into $1.4 million.
Yeah.
And it's in a Roth, 100% tax-free. Here's a kid that sits back and realizes time matters. Get in the game. Create the behaviors. Now, you might sit back and go, well, that's great for the 18-year-old. I'm 38. Well, so what? At 38, it can be 20 times. We got to get in the game.
Yeah. Now, let's just kind of go a little deeper here, because I know you're adverse on picking individual stocks, right? You'd rather put it in an ETF or a mutual fund, correct? Do you have any specifics that you advise on? And I know, these change over time, but any like tried and true ones that you would recommend?
Let me clarify why I don't want to pick individual stocks first.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to do is help people build wealth in a sustainable, long-term
Yeah.
fashion. So I'm going to put long-term growth and safety
Mm,
first. The mistake is, and why I say, because full disclosure, I have individual
yeah.
stocks,
Same.
but I didn't start there.
Yep.
And the reason I didn't start there is, imagine, and there was a Wall Street Bets Reddit post from a guy who happened to um, uh, invest in First Republic Bank. He put $250,000 into First Republic Bank.
Yikes.
And when First Republic Bank went from 200 to about 100, he posts the chart and says, "Oh my God, I don't know what to do. Should I stay in? Should I get out? It's declining. It's declining." For those that don't know, First Republic Bank went to zero, basically to $2. Okay. But then at the last line, he says, "This was everything I had."
Mm, yeah, that hurts.
The reason you don't go into individual stocks is because if it goes against you, you're going to lose big time. And so what I tell people is, we're going to start off with a diversified portfolio so we can soften the blow when one company goes bad. And when you have critical mass, then we'll take a sliver like I do, and we can invest in individual stocks. Because look, if any of my individual stocks go to zero, I'm going to pout for a week. Trust me, I'm going to be in a bad mood. I'm going to pout for a week, but it isn't going to destroy me financially.
Yeah.
So that's why I do that. Now, what do I tell people to do? So the first thing, there's a couple things I want people to do. One is, I want to keep it as simple as possible, because money, a lot of people think it's too complex. I got to do all this analysis. No, let's keep it simple. So there's a couple ways to do it. You do a 2-fund or 3-fund portfolio. You can do that, where you're buying a broad-based fund. You can buy the whole market, the whole stock market, VTSAX. Okay, that's not a recommendation, but like, you want a low-cost index or ETF fund, Vanguard, Schwab, Fidelity, they all have them, but you can buy the whole stock market.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Apologies for interrupting your programming, but I have to tell you, the best investment you can make in yourself is one in which helps you acquire skills. You've probably heard people talk about, oh, just invest in yourself and you'll be successful. Yes, that's true to a degree, but you have to invest in skills that will ultimately help you achieve your desired results. And I think one of the best skills one can possess, be it an entrepreneur or an aspiring entrepreneur, is the sales sword. Really knowing how to sell, utilizing pressure-free persuasion, which will make you more money and more impact. Now, if you want to know how to sell more efficiently and effectively, I just launched a sales course called The Proven Roadmap Process to Selling Millions of Dollars and helping you to increase your conversions, guaranteed. And you can get access to this new sales course that The Happy Hustle is launching at thehappyhustle.com/sales. And if you act fast, you'll get it at the lowest price it'll ever be available, because we are launching it and we want to gain amazing testimonials and social proof to further share this knowledge. So if you act fast, you can get it at the lowest price it'll ever be. That's at thehappyhustle.com/sales. Now let's get back to this episode.
And now you're invested in little pieces of 3,000 stocks or thousands of stocks. If one goes bad, you don't really get hurt as much. And if you look at the historical performance of the market, you're going to get 8 to 11%.
Yep.
Okay. So at the very beginning, because it's more important that I get you in the game than it is to sit back and say, I got to be precise in the game. I just got to get you on the field. I got to get you out of the stands, off the sidelines, on the
Yeah.
field. And so the easiest way is to potentially do something like that. And even easier for those that sit back and go, I don't know it. And if you're in a job and you have a 401k, you probably have a lot of these, is to just do a target date fund.
Mm-hmm.
And what a target date fund is it takes a little more of the decision process off your shoulders for the time being. Now, I'm not saying to stay in it. I'm saying to start with it, to get in the game because it's easy.
Yeah.
And what a target date fund does is you have one basically decision. What's the date I need the money?
Mm-hmm.
And if you say it's 30 years from now, then you go to a fund that is set to mature at 2055. Okay. And what they do, and you can get low cost target date index funds. So you're not paying a lot of fees, but they will manage the portfolio. And because you're far away from 2055, it's very aggressive now for higher growth. And as you get closer to 2055, they rebalance it so it's more conservative and you don't take the risk of loss.
Yep.
So they're doing the balancing so you don't have to. And so when someone starts out, I said, the simple thing to do at the beginning, don't get complicated because complications create risk.
Mm.
So just start with an easy target date fund to get you in the game, start getting used to the vocabulary, starting to get used to regular investing, start getting used to seeing the prospectuses and some of that stuff. And then as you get to critical mass, maybe you have $100,000 invested, $50,000 invested, you say, I might explore another fund. And maybe I'll go into a international fund or a total stock market fund or something, and I'll take a sliver and say, I'm going to put 5,000 here. But we want to get you in the game.
Mm.
And then over time, complexity will find you, but you want to try and keep it as simple as possible.
Yeah.
But the most important driver of there's two important drivers of what you choose to do. One is your risk profile. How much risk are you willing to take? Now that's tolerance. Yeah. But there's another aspect to it. And that is, how much risk should you take or can you sustain? That's capacity. Okay. And what you need to make sure is that just because psychologically you might be a thrill seeker and you go, I don't care. I can do this. But hey, you got a family of 3 kids and a spouse that's depending on you and you got a house payment. The capacity to take on that risk is lower. And so we need to be smart about that. So there's the risk profile that will drive some of your investment decisions. And that will also then drive the portfolio structure over the long term.
Yeah. And I mean, I think some of the key points I just want to echo is like, it's more about being in the market, getting exposure to the S&P 500, right? Or some of those bigger stocks. I mean, some of the ones that I'll say that I'm in is like VTI, VOO, some of these,
Yep.
I have a couple target date funds, these are stuff that, over time, traditionally you're getting 8 to 10%, right? And they're safe in that sense. Now there is other ones, I got in on like Tesla really early and Nvidia and some of these, and you have some of those moonshots. Then I bought some other ones that are just crap and they went to, kind of like zero. So you do expose yourself to some of that risk based on your capacity, right? And I think it's important to have those moonshots down the road, but first get in the game.
Yeah.
Now I am, curious, getting like a little bit more advanced, talking about now part 3, creating the journey, unlocking your earning potential. You talk about saving versus gambling versus trading versus investing, right? And the differences. And then like also protecting your money machine too. Some of these pieces. Yeah. I think this is a huge conversation around protection of your assets, but also, the difference in where to allocate capital has been a complication for me. Like you say, complexity will find you. Like I've been getting, interested in life insurance and the whole game there. And I'm like, oh man, it's so complex. I don't know what the heck is this, a scam? And I'm like, Mel, help me. Come on. Like, what do I do?
Yeah.
So what's your take on safeguarding your
I have a
investment? And yeah,
so we can talk about life insurance. It'll irritate some
please.
people, I think, because I have a strong
I'd
opinion
love to
about
hear
it.
it.
So I think that I don't like the idea of wrapping investments in life insurance. It's expensive, it's inefficient, it's ineffective in 99% of the cases. Okay. There has to be a very unique set of circumstances that would set me to sit back and go, I think it's better. So, like, if I need insurance, I'll pay for the insurance and I'll keep the liquidity and I won't put commissions and fees on an annual basis into insurance companies or a broker's hands. And I will then invest the difference. And and then their argument, part of the argument is that, oh, well, then you don't have insurance when you get, because it'll expire. I said, yeah. And you're right. I have 2 insurance policies, and both of them will expire. Okay. But the intent and where I'm at is that I'm self-insured after that anyways. I don't need the insurance policies. So, and if I wanted to get another insurance policy, I could. Yeah, it'll be more expensive because I'm older. Okay. Plus I have, my health history where they may not like me, I mean, for the people who don't know, in 2019, I had a cancer battle and I'm 4 years clear and everything, but but then I'm older. So it's like, so by the time I get past the 5-year mark, they're going to go, all right, you're past the cancer mark, but now you're too damn old.
Yeah, exactly.
But the point is that I would prefer, and when you start to create these complex structures inside policies that have indexes and guarantees and protections and all of that, they don't give it to you for free. It's embedded in the fees. And now what happens, and I've seen it even with simpler structures, if you don't abide by it properly, you don't get the benefits of it. So if I want insurance, I buy insurance. If I want investments, I get investments. I keep them separate in 99% of the cases. I've not found a case that really makes sense. I know that they talk about being your own bank and all of that stuff. And there's a whole group of people out there that love it. More power to you. When I look at the general public and the people that are really trying to build their wealth, they're not in a position to take that on.
True.
They cannot sustain themselves if they don't have that critical mass for the insurance premiums and all that stuff, because you get into one of these policies to get the benefits out of it, you got to be in the policy for a handful of years at least for it to build up enough. And then what happens when you pass away? What happens to the cash value that they tell you about? All that stuff. It goes away.
Well, doesn't the death benefit hit instead?
But the death benefit hits. But if the whole idea behind that whole life policy is to overfund the cash value. So you have this cash value and you have the death benefit. They're 2 things. At the point of death, you get the death benefit. What happens to the cash value? If you've overfunded it and it's sitting in an account, what happens to it? You don't get it. Most cases, you don't get it. So if I have a $500,000 death benefit and I have a $200,000 cash value, guess what? Family gets the $500,000, 200's gone. You got to look at the policies. A lot of them are that way.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I mean, I'm in a couple policies, and now I'm going to go back and look at them because they seem good on paper with the tax benefits and some of the death benefits, and they're good salesmen, I will say, but they are making hand over fist money with just the fees. It's something everyone should do their due diligence.
And you got to ask yourself, what is their bias? See, one of the things with me is I don't sell investments. I don't sell insurance. I got no axe to grind. The only thing I want to sell you on is your dreams.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't do transactions. So if the only tool, if the only mechanism they have is an insurance policy, then they're going to find a way to fit that insurance policy into your circumstances.
Exactly. Yeah.
The question is, what is best for Kerry Jack, his family,
Yeah.
and his future?
Yeah.
Not what is suitable, because there's a lot of things that are suitable, but what is best?
Yeah. And on that note, I mean, I know you have true discernment when you're picking your team around you, and it's such a
Yeah,
huge piece to the puzzle of financial well-being. Ultimately, like you need to have a savvy CPA, tax strategist. I know a lot of my super wealthy friends, they have like a whole family office. But maybe
yeah,
the people just starting out, they like are doing TurboTax or some of these stuff. Like,
yeah.
what's your take on building the right team around you to support your money machine?
Well, I believe there's this whole movement of, oh, you don't want to pay fees, you don't want to pay fees. I have a whole team,
Yeah.
and there's a time. There's a time and place. Do you need a team up front? No, probably not. You can go in, just like we said, we can give you the recipe. It's in the book. We give you the recipe. You start investing, get yourself in a target date fund, start building that critical mass. Now you might want a team. And the thing is that your team, CPA, attorney, financial advisor, all of them, they are not there to grab the wheel. They do not captain the ship. We do not ever outsource our financial future.
Mm, that's
They are navigators, they are plotters, they are lookouts, and they stand on the right and the left of you and they say, watch out for that, do that, look at that. What do you think of that? Their job is to educate you, inform you, support you towards that affluence vision. If they don't want to take the time, if they don't have the patience or to do that, you find someone else. They have to first buy into your vision. Their job isn't to sit back and say, well, Kerry, that's a big vision. How about we, do this? Their job is to facilitate it.
yeah.
Now, like my team, I just had a meeting with them at the end of last year. Some things happened last year that I decided I wanted to relook at some things. And I told them, I said, here's what I need you to do. I've done my work. I want you to do the work also so we can compare. And I flew out to them and I meet them at least twice a year. And I said, I want you to stress test the hell out of our investments. I want you to tell me what happens if the market goes down 50%, 30%, if I stop income. How do we make sure from a probability standpoint, we are going to nail the numbers based on our targets?
Mm,
And, I sat down with them and we went through all the numbers and they looked at us and they looked at me and they said, they didn't argue in the sense of, hey, this is a lofty goal. They simply said, here's how we facilitate it. Here's what we need to do. Here's what we need from you, Mel.
mm.
And they looked at me and said, do you think you can get us 200 grand in the next 3 years? I go, yeah, let's do it. All right. I said, why? What does that do? He says, it puts the probability factors well over 100%.
Mm.
I said, great. So what they did is they gave me what my responsibility is. Now my job is to go earn it, make it, give it to them, and they'll take care of the rest.
Mm.
And I think that when you have the right team isn't looking over your shoulder to tell you what you did. They're looking forward to help facilitate the dreams.
Yep.
And they're doing it from a perspective of what's best for you and not, well, this is going to cut some money out of my pocket.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I mean, that is really powerful takeaway. I hope all the happy hustlers really heard that and go back and even listen. You do not outsource your financial future to someone else.
No.
You have to take accountability for it. No one is going to care about your financial future like you. And the realization I had, and you can maybe speak to it as a CPA and accountant, like, essentially you're looking at the last year in reverse and just filling out the boxes and like the paperwork, right? It's like,
Yeah.
oftentimes, a good one will give you strategy, but it's like, that's not enough if you don't have someone who's actually giving you counsel and, like,
When I had my CPA firm and I was managing partner, I used to sit with the whole team and I said, what's our job here? This is the problem with a lot of businesses. We confuse the commodity with the real job. And I said, what's our job here? They said, tax returns, bookkeeping, accounting. I said, nope. Our true product is success for the client.
Mm.
So when we pick up the tax return, when we pick up their financial statements, maybe we do the bookkeeping, maybe we do the tax returns, maybe we do all that stuff. But when we look at it, how can we use it to help create more success for the client? The only way that happens is looking forward, not backward.
Mm.
You don't need someone to scribe your tax returns. That's easy. You need someone that's going to look at you and say, Carrie, you're in a place where you're paying 35% on every dollar you earn. And there's some things that we can do that can reduce that and minimize that. And so here's what I'd like to do. I want to meet in June so we can see your numbers. I want to meet again in November so we can see your numbers and put a plan in place. And then we're going to move some things and do some things to make sure that, hey, if we can get you $50,000 more in deductions, we're going to keep $15,000 more in income in your pocket. Well, I'll pay you all day long if you're going to give me strategies like that. Don't come back and go, well, here's my bill, here's the tax bill. There's no value in that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But most CPAs are trained that way.
It is true. It's sad because most people, and this is something I'll say truly, like I have succumbed to, where I've made poor decisions with taxes and hiring and team, and it's like you learn sometimes the hard way, or you read someone like Mel's book, and then you can save yourself a bunch of problems. Mel, this has been amazing, man. Where can people go to get this book? I mean, like, it's a lot. You have a lot of great free resources too that come with the pre-order that I really want to go through some of those as well, because I mean, there's a lot here. We got the Effortless Wealth Masterclass. I mean, the Investing Simplified mini course, exclusive invite to your private launch team. It's over $1,300 in value. I mean, 7 Millionaire Habits Masterclass. Where can people go?
They can go to yourmoneymachinebook.com. Yourmoneymachinebook.com. You get all the information there. And you can pre-order the book, which would be amazing for me and amazing for you too. And there's also resources in the book. There's a QR code in the book for other additional resources that will supplement the book for people to help execute and implement some of the strategies as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I love it, man. Yourmoneymachinebook.com. We'll link it up in the show notes. Mel, man, I do want to put you through some of our Happy Hustle hack questions and then a quick rapid fire round, and then we'll wrap this interview up. This is just, something like I call a Happy Hustle hack, which is like a tip, a tool, a tactic. But I like to ask this something uniquely Mel, maybe something that you do that is a little different in a couple different disciplines. First being health. I know, health is a big priority, especially after, being diagnosed with cancer. And now, you've integrated Eastern and Western medicine and your martial arts practice. I know you do a lot for your health. Yeah. What would you say is one Happy Hustle hack for health that you want to share with the Happy Hustlers?
God, this is so let's be clear. I don't know that it's a hack, and especially given the fact that you have a large group of men. We're horrible when it comes to going to the doctor. Before they found what they thought was a 5-centimeter tumor in my bladder. It turned out to be 7.5 centimeters. I was at risk of kidney issue, prostate, and losing my bladder. And I say that to set the stage. I had not seen a doctor in 7 years.
Jeez.
And so, because I felt fine, I didn't have any pain. I was doing great. And all of a sudden there's too much information, but there was blood in the urine.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I said, oh. So the problem was that I was being reactive in my health versus proactive in my health. Now I have, just like I have a team for my finances, because I sat back and go, I check the pulse on my money more regular than I check the pulse on me.
Yeah.
So I have a proactive plan for my health with a team of doctors. And what I mean by this is this. I've got an identical twin brother. He had a heart issue and went into the hospital. I called my doctors up. I said, who's your best integrative cardiologist? You having a problem? I said, no. but the next best thing to me did. He said, what do you mean? I said, identical twin is in the hospital, the heart issue. My dad had heart issues at 56. Okay. I'm past that age. I want to make sure that I'm good.
Yeah.
So I am ultra proactive in care, but I'm also ultra proactive in taking care of myself. So I am at the gym 4 or 5 days a week. I've got someone who literally I'm on an app and they give me my workouts every day. So I know my workouts, they're tracking everything.
Which app?
And so
I'm curious.
What
app is it?
It's the Fit app.
Oh, nice.
But I have a group that I belong to. These are they train the MMA fighters.
Oh, cool.
And so they track my resting heart rate and all that stuff. And the funny thing is that they have a competition board. And my resting heart rate, I was number 2 on the board.
Oh, wow.
And I said, you tell them MMA fighters that some accountant named Melvin's beating their butts. You know?
That's funny.
So I think that we need to be more proactive. And the other thing is that I don't relinquish, just like I don't with the money, I don't relinquish it to the doctor. Oh, the doctor said this. I'll challenge the doctor.
Yeah.
And ask questions.
As you should.
And make sure that I have the right opinions before I make a decision. And so I think that we should be proactive. The idea with everything that I do is to be intentional, conscious, and aware, whether it's money, whether it's health, whether it's relationships.
Intentional, conscious, aware. Yeah. And just being proactive. That is a really great takeaway. I mean, I just did stem cells into my nasal cavity, intranasal sphenocath, and they shot up umbilical stem cells for my brain to heal some of the TBIs I've had. And it's like, I'm not having, substantial brain issues, but I have had some, and it's like, I'm doing my best to be proactive. And I think it's a great takeaway. We talked a lot about money. I usually ask my guests, what's a happy hustle hack for money? But since we talk so much about it, I'd like to just hear your happy hustle hack for relationships. You mentioned, relationships and being intentional and conscious. Do you have one to maybe, something to foster for a thriving marriage? Something to be a great father. Anything come to mind for a happy hustle hack there?
I'll give you 2. Well, they're kind of the same. So I was a single dad, raised my son from 5.5 years old. I didn't get married until I was 50. I'll be 63. So I've been married 13 years this year. So there was this long gap of me. I mean, I dated, so I wasn't some lonely dude,
Yeah.
but I didn't get married.
Yeah.
But Jeremy, as a young kid, I was traveling and building my business, but there was this, I was losing him because I was doing what I thought I needed to do. He drew a picture of me, which was me in front of 2 computer screens. And I said, wait a second. And so one of the things that I did, and I do it now in a different way with my wife, is that he needed to know I was there, because I could have argued that, hey, we need the prophets to do the things that we want to do and all that stuff. And he says, but we weren't doing the things we wanted to do. Yeah, I was chasing the prophets. And if he could understand it, he would have looked up at me and said, Dad, I don't need your prophets. I need your presence. And at the hands of a 6-year-old boy, I get this lesson. So one of the things that I did is we created a calendar, and there was red zones in the calendar. Those red zones were his. He knew that he owned those red zones in advance. In advance, he knew. And I also let him know that any other color on the calendar, he could turn red if he. And so what that did, and we are he's 33 now, and doing amazing, 2 grandkids, and we're as close could be.
That's awesome.
And I do something. My wife and I do something similar. We know our marriage, the strength of our marriage is just like that richness in life, is how we create experiences and memories together.
Yeah.
And so we have every 90 days, and we plan it a year in advance. We block out every 90 days. We'll do short stint vacations, it might just be staying here, but we shut the phones off and we're with each other. and we'll do 1 or 2 big vacations, but we block the time out. It's immovable.
Mm.
And so as crazy as her time goes, as crazy as my time goes, we can look at the dates and we go, this is our time. But the other thing that I tend to try and do, especially with this, is she used to be in the field a lot. And when she would come home from being in the field, I'd be working, I'd be, hi, honey, and I would do this. I don't anymore. There's when I move out of my office or my studio and she's shutting out of her office and her studio, the phone's down and we spend 20 minutes just chatting. Now, with the dogs, what we've really done is turned it into a walk. So we get out, around 4 o'clock every day because Budo won't let us go any later.
Yeah.
He just comes after us. And we take our walk and we're out for an hour and we're chatting, we're connecting, and we give each other the presence we deserve, because it's too easy for the people close to us to take them for granted and say, oh, they'll be there.
Yeah.
But what if they're not?
Yeah.
What if they're not, either emotionally because you've let them go, or what if they're not because all of a sudden they had a health problem
Yeah.
and you never had a chance?
Yeah, man. Yeah. Powerful. I mean, those are some really great happy hustle hacks there. I love that you block out that intentional calendar time for your wife and your kids or your son specifically. And I think, just the fact that you recognize that presence is the ultimate currency, that's huge. So I hope that lands for everybody. Last happy hustle hack, and this is spirituality. I just think it's important to have faith in a bigger, bigger picture, something higher than yourself. And I don't care one religion or another, truly. But I'm curious for you. And we had a riveting conversation on religion at dinner when we went out with Rory and Clayton Mask from Keith. And, I just am curious, what would you say is a happy hustle hack, a way that you connect to a higher power?
I would say it sounds odd, but I think it's gratitude. It's appreciating everything and being aware. When this sounds really weird, but when I was never raised a really religious guy. But when I first really kind of said, oh, there's much more at work here, was I happened to witness for the first time ever a dog giving birth to a litter of puppies. And here's this dog that was just about a year and a half old and a litter of 9 puppies. They hadn't been through any training, any education, any classes, no Lamaze, no nothing. And the puppy comes out. And this dog instinctively knows to start licking it and get it out of the bag, to get it to start squealing and crying to make sure it's alive. And I looked at this thing and I said, this doesn't just happen. It can't just happen. We might do things in our lives because they told us, we're educated, we went to school. This thing's a year and a half old. It doesn't know. Something's informing us. And something's doing it. And so I don't discount the blessings I have in my life, including the cancer and everything that I've been through. And know that there is something bigger at work. And so with that, I gotta walk in gratitude for what is, instead of comparing of what isn't. It's so easy in social media to look at it and go, I wish I had, I wish I had, I wish I had. But how does that make you feel better? But to stand, I walk on the beach with Budo every morning. I go to the gym, come back. We do a 45-minute walk on the beach. It's usually just me, just him, the sunrise, and the waves. And I sit back and say, what am I grateful for today? What do I appreciate? Looking at the beauty, slowing down to sit back and realize this doesn't just happen.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Powerful. Gratitude is such a blessing. I mean, I personally journal every morning, 5 to 10 things I'm grateful for. Just, attitude of gratitude is something I really preach and live by. Man, those are some great hacks. No, geez, Louise, you're just bringing hot fire today on the mic. I love it. I do want to put you through the rapid fire round and then we'll wrap this up. So this is just where I ask you random questions and you answer honestly. First thing that comes to mind. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Favorite food? Go.
Oh my God. It's going to be pasta.
All right. Favorite movie?
It's got to be Tombstone.
Oh, great movie. Favorite book?
Yeah. You know, I'd be remiss to say it's not mine, but if I really had to pick one, it would be oh my God, the Richest Man in Babylon.
Great read. Favorite workout?
You know what? It's really used to be a martial arts workout, but now I've kind of gone into more of the cardio and stretching,
Nice.
and so that's probably my favorite workout nowadays.
Yeah. Awesome. Best business
Yeah.
advice?
Get in the game earlier than you think you're ready, and make sure that you're coming at it from the perspective of what can I do to give value to the people I want to serve.
Love that. What's your spirit animal?
They say it's a panther.
Oh, I see it. I see it.
Yeah.
That's great. 3 things you're most grateful for?
My health, my wife, and my children and grandchildren.
Love that. And if you had a billboard for the world to see, what's that billboard read?
Says make sure that you live a life that outlives you.
Man, you crushed that rapid fire round, Mel. And I just want to take a moment to acknowledge you, brother, for sharing your love, your light, your wisdom, your money machine, and your unapologetic truths. I just appreciate you, bro, and so much how you show up in the world. And like I look to you as an inspiration in this industry of someone. It's a complex topic, money, right? And you simplified it, and I just appreciate you, and I appreciate our friendship. So thank you again for rocking the mic.
Brother, thank you for having me on, man. I feel blessed to be on this journey with you.
Yeah, man. Same. Now, go ahead and mention the best place for people to follow you online, and also go ahead, like where they can get the book again.
Yeah. All right. So my website's melabraham.com. My Instagram, which is a lot of where I'm at, is melabraham9. Not sure who the first 8 are. And then the book is yourmoneymachinebook.com. And I'm easy to find on the internet, and I'd love to hear from anyone and see if I can support.
Yeah, and we'll link all those up in the show notes. Mel, this has been amazing. Thank you so much. Final question, which is, What does happy hustling mean to you?
It's, you know what? I think what it means is that we are living in our joy, what I call joy points. Doesn't mean that everything is easy, but that when we're done, even from a hard workout, from a hard thing, we actually found joy in it.
That's amazing. Mic drop. Mel Abraham, y'all. Thanks for watching and listening. We are out. Peace and love.